I've been an Apple Mac user since before I was born, more or less. My father brought the first square. Do you remember the Macintosh thing? I've never known anything else than Apple Mac. So I bought a few of their products over my lifetime. And they really, really managed to seriously piss me off, trying to copy Toyota. Suddenly I get an email, do a recall, because there's something potentially wrong with my hard drive. I'm very happy. I bring it back to them, and they say, oh, your screen looks strange, we'll change it. And you'll change it now. Well, it's going to, actually, no, we said now, but it's going to be tomorrow. And then it turns into this complete nightmare that eventually, after fighting with them, after having to stand in a queue with lots of pissed off people because they did the recall without ever preparing for it, I get back with my machine, they've changed the operating system, I have to back up they lost all my data, it's on a hard drive, I'm not an IT guy. No? Nobody feels a little bit of compassion for me? Where nothing ever works, and I get all these error messages all the time, and I've lost all my emails now? Okay. So Apple has given me a very, very bad customer experience, which actually changes my relationship with the company. Do you see this happening? This is really complicated. We need to understand this. The value, there are two levels of value. One is the immediate experience of the value, and two is the relationship with the product, which are two levels of value that are linked in people's heads but work separately. And this is what makes seeking for value such a complicated thing. Now here it gets really complex. Once we understand this, the other dimension we have to see is we need to understand the product as a full product. It's a bit early to ask for this, but who here is completely satisfied by this conference? Okay, before I started my talk. At 9 o'clock, come on, show of hands. Are anybody here completely satisfied with the conference? Come on, not one. One person. Two. Timidly. This is the toughest question. Who is okay with the conference? Do you see the difference? That is value. You have just here in this room touched value. This is not for the faint-hearted. You have to ask the tough questions. The only line in a customer survey that is interesting is completely satisfied, as opposed to okay-ish satisfied. Now, this is very tough because completely satisfied, there's always something that goes wrong. There's always an incident. There's something that nobody cares about, piss you off. There's always something that goes wrong. So how do you understand it? How do you get a grapple on this? Now, of course, this no longer applies to software, yeah? One of the reasons it doesn't no longer apply to software is because very few people have a vision of a product in software. We tend to find lists of features. But the complete product people have to be completely satisfied with, it's often not there. So we need to constantly understand what actually customers value and what customers dislike about what we do. And again, this is not for the faint-hearted. Why? Because our brains, entire role, full-time, is to tell us we're okay. That's what my brain does. The only people honest about themselves are the clinically depressed. So as a team, in order to be as a team, we have to tell ourselves we're okay. And you have to be really self-confident to be able to go out and seek the disconfirmation on value. Why is it that only 2 people timidly say they're completely confident, completely satisfied by the conference? We need to seek this because this is where value lives. The difference between a Lexus and a Cadillac in customer satisfaction is something like between 99.1 and 99.3 in customer satisfaction. This is scary because look at the number of cars who are involved and look at the bucks on the bottom line we're talking about. On a difference in customer satisfaction that is tiny. And this is where, do you see, we're approaching value. We're trying to seek value, and now we know a bit where it is. And it's in a space that we don't want to look at because it's so bloody painful, which makes sense. So this is a big thing. This is a really big thing, is how do you take time beforehand to ask yourself those questions and to understand where, we don't know how to find the value yet, but we have to understand where we're looking for it, how we're looking for it. Now, I can see from your faces that I'm just pushing open doors. You all do this every day. Is that correct? That's what I can see? That your job, every day you come, the first thing you do at work is, am I solving the right problems as opposed to, am I solving my problems correctly? This is the $1,000,000 question. Because this is what makes a company lean. If you only focus on solving the right problems, it's good if you solve them correctly, but usually what happens is the right problems are tough problems, so you don't solve them correctly. But then you forget about everything else. Your company gets a lot leaner. And your customers get a lot more benefit. This is a very simple graph that is at the heart of the company. How do we constantly test our understanding of customer values? And remember, we are wrong. It's not me about this, we're wrong. I mean, it's really from the lean thing. Anybody here has read Workplace Management, Taishi Ono's first book? Oh, read it, guys. Read it, guys. The first 20 pages in Taishi Ono, the inventor of lean, first book, is about being wrong. Your understanding is not made by the new things you learn. Your understanding is made by the misconceptions you select out from your mind. This is what lean does. It doesn't teach you much new things. This you do on your own. It forces you to select out misunderstandings. So this whole thing about being wrong is not me, it's the lean tradition. So here we learn when we thought there was a customer value, turns out we were wrong because we try to confirm this. So this is at the heart of the value. It's very simple. It's the back of an envelope. But this is the heart exercise of value seeking. This is what the Toyota engineers taught me all these years ago, and that got me so interested, is that to make things, they said, first you need to make people. Now, as a sociologist, I was crazy about this, and I spent 10 years of my life figuring out what does making people mean. And I was so wrong. Do you realize that this is how stupid you can be? I committed my life to understand that sentence, to make things, you first make people, and I spent 10 years of that commitment just looking at half of that sentence. I mean, how dumb can we be? I couldn't do the entire sentence. I've spent this past 5 years trying to figure out that what does making things mean? And making things actually changes radically your mind about making people. Because you suddenly realize that process and delivery don't matter much if you're on the wrong problem. And the reason Toyota became #1 is not because they had lower cost, it's because they built cars people bought. It's a different problem. As a result, they also have lower costs for lots of additional reasons, but at the end of that problem is that they keep coming up with cars people buy. And the trick to this is experience, passion, and open mind. So this is what makes it fun, is that if you refocus on this making things and making people, you create a working environment where people are not cynical, they're engaged. It's actually quite fun. I have even middle managers go, in French we say, on s'éclate. We're having fun, it's cool. We have something to do and we're doing it together, and it's great fun. And occasionally, it even works on the market, and we sell a few of them. Thank you very much.